Our next guest knows the Incredible Hulk too, by the way.
I couldn't believe Laura Smith with Cordell and Cordell. I never would have guessed that you would have been old enough to remember the old Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby, Incredible Hulk.
What's the famous line from the Hulk?
Don't make me angry. You won't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah, see?
Yes.
Nailed it.
Which is a perfect segue into what we're talking about here. Breaking up is hard for any married couple.
Yeah, and when it comes to divorce, there are some things that you should know to protect yourself and your money. So once again, Laura Smith here from the law firm Cordell and Cordell. And what are some of the top mistakes that men and women make when it comes to divorce?
Well, in our book that Joe Cordell has written, The Top 10 Stupidest Things Men Do in Divorce, we list out a number of different mistakes that we see often in the divorce process. One of those mistakes we were talking about before this segment is moving out of the house. And, you know, that is a really common thing that we see, and it's a mistake that can have a lot of different ramifications for a party. One, it establishes a status quo that the other party is going to have the house. Does that mean they'll get it at the end? No, but they may have it temporarily while the case is pending. It also creates a whole second set of bills. It may take you away from your children and from having regular interaction with your children, which can also create a status quo. So there are a lot of things to think about, and it's definitely something to talk to your attorney about before you do it.
You know, and all kidding aside, I have heard of a case where this was an issue with someone, obviously I won't name. But so what do you advise? Somebody moves into the basement, or, you know?
I think it's just something, I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't move out of the house. I think it's something that you should talk about because it's a very fact-specific decision, how things are going to be going, the dynamics between the parties, whether or not there are temporary orders in place, things of that nature that we really want to consider to make sure that we're making an informed decision before we just do it. Because otherwise you can find yourself suddenly in a situation where you're paying a mortgage and you're paying rent and you're paying two sets of utilities, and it can be really, really difficult.
Yeah, that leads us to the next point, and you just kind of teed up for us there, and that is money. What kind of mistakes do you see in regards to trying to figure out financially what both parties are going to do?
Yeah, one of the mistakes that we talk about in the book is doing a sloppy job on your financials. And what we like to compare it to is preparing your tax return. When you prepare your tax return, and most men prepare their own tax returns, and they will spend hours gathering receipts and putting things together, getting all of those documents ready because they're afraid of being audited. And when you think about the divorce process, these sworn financial statements are really critical to the court in setting things like spousal maintenance, setting child support, making an actual division of your assets and debts. So having those things, having them be accurate, spending a lot of time on them, double checking them, knowing them, being prepared to testify about them, those things are really critical.
And how about mistakes people make when it comes to child custody?
Absolutely. So that's a big one. I think in the book, they talk about neglecting the children, and I think that is a strong term, but it is meant to encompass a number of different things, right? So a lot of times we see the same arguments over and over again in our cases, and one of those arguments tends to be dad's not involved, the father's not involved, mom does everything for the kids. So we need to be cognizant and aware of, you know, we're taking the kids to the doctor's appointments because they're logging the fact that you're there. Dad brought kid in for doctor's appointment, that you're logging the kid in and out of daycare, right? That you're making sure that you're tracking and calendaring the time that you have with your children.
Interesting.
And similarly, if you're asking for parenting time with your children and you're being denied for some reason, that you're calendaring that as well.
Because that could come up. They could say in the proceedings, like, this guy's never met the teachers, Doc's never seen him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you, did you attend parent-teacher conferences? And when you go to court, because we always like to handle every case as though we're going to go to trial, you may settle, but we want to be ready. We want to always be gearing up for that because that's really the best strategy and the strongest strategy for our clients. And if you get to the stage where you're at trial and mom says, oh, he's not involved, he hasn't been doing things, you've got your calendar, you've got your detailed list, and you can say, here are the things that I've been doing, I've been keeping track, here are the times that I asked and I was denied and why. And you've got all of that information, and that's a really powerful argument to present to the court.
Yeah. Laura, I know we're just kind of getting started here with this conversation. I know there's a lot more information. If somebody
Absolutely.
wants to find out more and consult with your law firm, how can people get a hold of you guys?
Absolutely. The firm website is cordell.com, and our phone number, if you'd like to schedule an initial consultation, is 866-DADS-LAW.
All right.